We'll begin with roll call by the superintendent. I'll do the board prayers, and Mr. Mize will lead us into the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Byron, Ms. Fletcher Mickens, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Washington, Mrs. Hood, Mrs. Arso, Ms. Dugas. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The agenda will be followed as presented. Precious Lord, we thank you once again for this assembly to ask for your continued blessing on this district and all our school employees. Dear God, we ask that you spare us from the calamities associated with this hurricane season. Please embrace our schools, our students, and all our employees from the past tragedies that have plagued school system around this country. And for those who are impacted by these senseless acts of violence, dear Lord, we please bring them peace and comfort through your love for all mankind. Give us the insight to lead with integrity, and that the decisions we make reflect what is in the best interest of the students in our school system. In making these decisions, we ask that you keep us from pettiness and short-sightedness, and that the decisions we make are for the good of all without self-interest. Dear God, grant us the humility to always seek your guidance when trying to fulfill our duties, to support our students, our faculty, our staff, as well as the community of Assumption Parish. These and many blessings, we respectfully ask in his holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody got the mics on and the volume up, I take it, right? Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion by Ms. Uso, second by Ms. Dodd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Next, a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Hood. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Next, the reports and recognition. Receive administrative personnel report. So each of us have a copy of that in your file, view it at your leisure. Next, receive update on the K-2 accountability system. We have that.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you're not aware, the State Department has now adopted an assessment accountability measure for the K-2, for our K-2 grade levels. And I'm just truly excited that we, a part of our strategic plan, we started doing some of the work already with our K-2 initiative last year and what we're doing this year as well with our K-2. This is in the early stages of this process, but I wanted to let the board and our community know that we will now have a K-2 assessment. Ms. Rachel, could you go into detail a bit?
We just recently signed up to participate in what's called the Learning Year. The Learning Year is a pilot program for districts to get their feet wet, so to speak, so that you'll have an opportunity to participate in the expectations before they are a mandate. So we're eager to begin this process. The webinars, the first one was today. Basically, what we're going to do in K-2 now is actually quite similar to what we do in early childhood. The teachers are going to be observed, and there's going to be a third-party vendor that is going to be hired by the state to come in and do a reliability check. Districts have the option whether they want to use the class observation tool or the NIET rubric. I'm pretty certain that when the time comes, we'll choose to use the NIET rubric, but that is a decision that we have not made yet. But moving forward in the pilot program, we will be using the NIET rubric. In addition to that, there's going to be some type of assessment with some protocols for testing the children. Right now, there are 4 options that are out there that can be used. One is Dibbles, one is, I believe it's called Acadience, iSteep, and STEP. We use iSteep, so that would be a protocol that we already have in place. The only thing that will be different is that I think there'll be some parameters around the testing procedures. That has not been finalized yet. There's still a RFP out with the state to find the vendor and go through all of those particular protocols. But what is in place right now is the opportunity to have that third-party vendor come in and do the reliability check on the observations.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Next, receive update on the child nutrition program.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give y'all a quick little update since the start of school of where we stand from our program. As of right now, we're feeding about 34% of students for breakfast, and industry average is in between 25 and 35%. So we're right where we need to be for breakfast. For lunch, we're feeding about 70% of students, and the average of the industry is 65 to 75. So again, we're right with the rest of the nation of where we're feeding for kids. As far as supply chain issues, we're still having some, but now it's both purchase and commodities, so we're having to make menu changes as we need and still have some price increases, but Department of Education is telling us that this month to expect to receive some supply chain assistance funds. We haven't received the allocation yet, but as a reference, last year we received almost $72,000. So depending on how much more money we were provided, it may be around that, maybe more, maybe less, but we're getting some more assistance funds for that. And as far as staffing right now, we are fully staffed. I will have a vacancy coming up, but we've already have a plan in place of how we're gonna handle that. Anybody has any questions?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for that report. Next, under paragraph D, recognize and honor the 2022 through 2023 Bar Lewis Primary School Support Person of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, we're starting early this year. Usually, this kind of happens in April and May. But the last couple of years, we've had very difficulty getting into it since COVID kind of hit. In 2020, we didn't do it at all. In 2022, we got buried down. So I would say, okay, we can't miss it this year. So what I've decided to do is every month, which is going to be the first meeting of the month, we're going to go through, every school has been assigned a month. We're going to start with Bayou Lewis Primary. We're going to recognize their support employee of the year. They had a nomination. They had a selection process, and they have a candidate they presented to us. We're going to take that candidate like we normally do. We're going to post their picture on the district website. This year's support personnel, so y'all going to get one every month. So as we work down, we have 9 months, we have 9 sites, it'll be perfect. So what we're going to do is this year's nominee comes out of Bayou Lewis Primary. She is a familiar, and I actually got a little synopsis for y'all that came out there. I asked them to do this, is get to know the support person. A familiar face around Bayou Lewis for 22 years. 8 of those years she volunteered her time in many capacities, including volunteering and opening up the library 2 days a week for children to get books. 6 years she worked as a part-time library clerk and custodian, and now she's been working for us since 2014 as a full-time paraprofessional. She's always willing to help. And 2022-23 Support Person of the Year for Bayou Lewis Primary is Ms. Brandy Trainer.
I would like, excuse me, I would like to personally thank Miss Brandy because I remember way back, she was doing it for nothing. And when we say educators, we're not in it for the money, she is definitely, that's too true, because I see Miss Brandy's van at school all weekend, after hours. There's just no limit to the things that she does at BioLures. She's a permanent fixture there, and I'm very grateful to her for being there. Thank you so much.
I would also like to get back on that. Brandon was there when I was over there as principal. And when we need somebody to step in at any time, anywhere, she was there for me. So congratulations, Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all for the comments from the podium here. Next, receive and honor Leah Pipsair, nurse at the Pierpont Elementary School.
You can come on up, Leah. Real quick, there's a lot of positive things going on throughout the district that sometimes we don't bring in front of the board. Throughout our entire schools, we have an outstanding nursing staff with all of 5 of our nurses, along with other things. So one of our intentions this year is also to start putting people or positive things that are coming in front of y'all inside of board meetings and recognizing. Y'all hear a lot of the negative sometimes that goes on, but it's time for us to start getting a lot of positive. There was a crisis at this school this year, and it happens a lot in a bunch of our schools, but we want to make sure we recognize Ms. Pipsair for her contributions for helping out with the crisis at that time.
Yes. To say that Leah is indispensable at Pierpont would be a huge understatement. Never was that more true than it was 2 Fridays ago when we had that crisis. We've had a few incidences over the last 6 months where we've had to call for Acadian. There was a very serious incident last Friday, and for about an hour, she was in full nurse mode. What I watched her do, she should be in a hospital doing. And I think Mr. Beaver, probably his conversation, because he called to check on me, us on the way home, he probably hung up and thought, oh my gosh, it was a lot for all of us. And my statement afterwards was, she was a rock star. We watched her, on a daily basis, we see her take care of kids, bobos, medicine. I watched her be a nurse on that Friday. And like, we talk about how important the nurses are in the schools. That proved it, and I thought about if I had a chance to speak to you guys tonight. I never ever ask, and I try not to ask for anything, but I would hope that none of my fellow principals would have to face what I faced that 2 Fridays ago without a nurse in their school. None of us who have been med trained or any of the other things that the nurses do for us could have done anything in that situation. It was really, really serious. And so to say thank you is not enough. After it was all over with and after the helicopter left, we cried, all of us. The kids were fantastic. My staff was fantastic. The kids were wonderful. And it was a really good practice of a crisis. But she took over, and even the first responders were looking to her to what to do. So I can't say enough. She was fantastic. And so I thank you, Mr. B, for doing this. I kind of thought maybe that's what this was, and she really, really deserves this. She does.
When you called me, we had
I did. I was like, boo, 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 boo.
so thank you for letting me know
Yeah.
that you have someone on your staff that did
Yeah.
something.
And the rest of the crisis team, because we have a team of about 6 people on the staff, before I could even get there, they were already there, they were in place. They are led by her, and she's got them well trained. It's some teachers and some paraprofessionals. But like I said, I watched her be a real nurse, for lack of a better way to say it, on that Friday. And as she said when it was all over with, jokingly, she says, I still got it. And she does. She does. Thank you.
her the language that she can use, and she did. I know what else to do. Right. So I had to learn too, but she did a great job.
Well, thank you, Ms. Leah,
Yeah.
once you do
Oh, yeah,
everything.
that's my job. That's why I'm there.
No, you put more than just a job into it,
Yes, Leo, you do go above and beyond.
that's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'd just like to say, we will continue to honor our staff and anyone that, ordinary people doing great things, so we will continue to bring positive things in front of the board because yes, Mr. Clement, you're right. Every now and then you hear so much negativity in the world, but there are a lot of great things that are happening. So any principal, any teacher, anyone, give me a call if you see something that's going on in the schools that are really, really good. Let me know so we could let the board know so we could let our community know. Thank you.
Ms. Leah, did you take care of the alligator?
I think that man on the side of her will probably take care of that.
Well, I wonder if that alligator was late for class.
He wants to learn his ABC though.
So, again, Leah, thank you. Quite often when you think about nurses, you think about the hospital settings. And not too often you see nurses act in the pre-hospital settings like with fire departments and medics and stuff like that. And to work a situation like that where you're on the ground assessing the patient, trying to do what you could for the patient for 45 minutes to an hour, that's very time consuming, very exhausting and stuff like that. And for the procedure that I understand that you were going through, that was very time sensitive because as long as the person is away from that type of setting, medical setting and stuff like that, then it diminishes his chance of survival and all that, taking oxygenated blood away from the brain. That's very, very critical. And it's very imperative, very important. The key thing is for you is to make sure you get ground or air transportation. I hope the air transported around there. Yeah, that is the quickest way. But again, from everything I heard, y'all perform very, very well. And God bless you and thank you. And it's a blessing that we have people like yourselves throughout the school system. And Dr. B, thank y'all for acting. Thank you to the principal for acting real good and real appropriate. So those things are going to happen, guys. But having people in place like Leah and other nurses throughout the school district, that makes it feel confidence and safe. And I'm sure our board members in that region kind of understand that, and also the parents in that area. They greatly appreciate knowing that our schools are staffed with qualified, experienced people like nurses and all that, So again, thank you all very much, and thanks for your action in such a stressful situation. I understand what you've been through. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, receive information.
I would like to say something.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. It seems like y'all were there, y'all handled the situation as it should be. My concern is that not all schools have full-time nurses. And as Ms. Stacy said, I think that's something that's very important, especially being in a rural district like we are, where we're so far from everything. I think that's something we need to work for, to get our school staffed with at least one full-time nurse all day. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Andrew. Next, receive information on Biddy basketball program. So I think we're supposed to have a couple of folks here now.
Yeah, I don't
Mr.
see-
Bucket,
I did speak to Mr. Brian Rose, who was scheduled to be here tonight. He had his dates mixed up, so he is in route. He may or may not make it. But I sat with him along with the superintendent last week, and I can share some information.
Okay.
That he shared with us. So, Mr. Brian Rose is a retired police officer from Lafourche Parish. He's worked with AAU basketball. He's worked with Biddy basketball in Lafourche Parish, and he shared that in a lot of instances in his work with basketball. A lot of young people from our parish would come to Lafourche because we didn't have biddy basketball available to our students here. So he did come in and shared some ideas as far as if he were given the opportunity to come in. You know, he initially sent us a schedule, of course, and if allowed, and if he is able to come in, he would want to do something centrally located in the Napoleonville area. Of course, he would have to work around the facilities here between our basketball season at Napoleonville Middle, that particular gym. He also, let's see, kind of impromptu tonight because he was scheduled to be here. He shared that a lot of what he does goes beyond the skill. You know, he does a lot of clinics and all, and he does work with sponsors and volunteers. Being a nonprofit, you know, there are some costs that, I think it was approximately $50 per student, per athlete, that they would be charged, but he does work with sponsors and all from the community to help defray those costs for uniforms and things like that. Besides the skill and the clinics, there's a focus on sportsmanship and of course, you know, that goes beyond basketball. He also shared that if given the opportunity, he does come with his own cleanup crew. So if he does use our facilities, he would take care of cleanup and that sort of thing. Flexible schedules, again, to work around our events here. So if I'm missing anything, Mr. B, so he is in the route. He may pop in before the meeting is out. But that's kind of the gist of what we talked about.
All right.
Yeah, and I just want to make, this is independent from the school system.
Right,
This is organization and within the parish. It's an independent, they just would like to use our facilities.
Yeah, it's good though. It could help enhance our kids. And you know, 'cause even the sheriff had this little summer recreational program, and, you know, but you only got those few weeks between schools. With this program, it probably would enhance our kids, because I tell you now, middle school level, I mean, these kids, I watch them. We had biddy here before, about, let's say, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
How many coaches y'all had during the summer program?
Oh, man, we might have had about maybe 8, something like that.
That's good.
I know we have CBA in Fairport, and it's very popular.
Yes.
The kids really like it. They have good participation.
Right now, I mean, the kids right now, he's talking about a clinic and stuff like that. I mean, that would help our kids, right?
Yep, definitely.
Keep our kids active.
Okay.
Boys and I'll just share, boys and girls ages, he would have 3 divisions if given the opportunity, ages 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. And it would, a season would consist of 10 games. So,
Okay. All right.
you know, and we often talk about kids with not much to do in our area. So, you know, I look at it as being an opportunity to give our kids something positive to do. So,
It's really, I don't know. From what I'm hearing, I mean, the program we had was similar, was pretty much the same thing. And also, these kids had opportunity. And at that point, some of these kids had never left the parish. So we was bringing them, you know, in other places and seeing, and competing against other kids way out there, man, you know. It was a good program.
That's good.
lastly, he is insured and he would come with the proper insurance coverage to use our facilities.
Okay. All right, good.
$250 per child.
$50
$50.
per child.
I'm sorry.
$50 per child. And a lot of that hopefully would be covered by sponsors from the community.
Okay, Mr. Burgess, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Policies and procedure, paragraph 3, approve revision to policy GBA, contract and compensation. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Washington, second by Mr. Robinson. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, approve revision to policy DJED, bids and quotation. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Uso,
Second.
second by Ms. Hood. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, paragraph C, approve 2022 through 2023 personnel evaluation program. Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Dot. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, paragraph D, receive information on revision to policy IDDA Head Start program.
I asked Ms. Melissa to give y'all a packet, just so I could give you a little background so that you understand why we're doing what we're doing with the information item tonight. So this packet, the first page I'm going to come back to, but the pages behind it is our report from our monitoring that we went through last year. Mr. Honore and Mr. Jesse can speak to how intensive it was. It was a week long of questioning and probably a month long of submitting documents. I'd definitely like to give a nod to Ms. Leah because she did a great job doing all of the health interviews, as well as Ms. Kenitra and our other staff members. So I was a little disappointed when we got this report because to me it lacked luster. Of all the wonderful things that we told them about all week long, all they did was write a few little sentences about every item. And I think the point, and we have never been through this before, I think the point was they were just looking for findings. They weren't really looking to tell us how fabulous we are. So this is the book of all of the things that we have to do in Head Start. It's 154 pages of rules. When they comb through all of the things that we do for all of the rules, unfortunately, they did find one thing. So when you come back to the first page, that explains the process. Then when you turn to the third page, that was the one thing that they found that we weren't doing correctly. And so in the policy and procedures on page 13, it says, program policies and procedures on violating eligibility determination regulations. A program must have written policies and procedures that describe all actions taken against staff who intentionally violate federal program eligibility determination regulations, who enroll pregnant women, children that are not eligible to receive early Head Start or Head Start services. So there are several documents that we all have to sign and say that we did our best effort to verify. We, of course, have CAPS policy that has rules that for anyone who's dishonest or violates things, CAPS explains everything that would ever happen to you. Head Start said that wasn't good enough because it didn't specifically mention eligibility. So immediately, we corrected it and we came up with a rule for our procedures that all Head Start employees have to sign, and you can see that that is revised on April 13, 2022. So immediately we fixed it, but when I'm gone and things aren't run by people who remember what happened, we need to have the policy really written properly in CAPS. So tonight we're coming before you with information of how we chose to revise it in CAPS. You'll see that it's item F now, and it specifically just names the rule in the standards, and then it cites what we already have written in CAPS of what happens to employees for being dishonest. Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Ms. Rachel. Mr. President, just want to, one comment. Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Your department did a phenomenal job, because I don't know if a lot of people realize how hard it is to pass this particular assessment. I mean, we had some programs across the state actually got flagged, and ours did not. So I want to commend you and your department. Thank you all, and all of our employees that work in the department as well. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
So what happens is, if you get flagged, you go into recompetition. So every 5 years, we have to write a brand new grant, and every year in between that, we write just a
course.
There was opportunities to get these grants, and I'm like, ooh, let me look at this, because maybe we could write another little grant. Well, no, what it was all the people who had lost their grant, and they were up for recompetition. So I was like, oh my goodness, like, they really are taking people's grants from them. So we were very prepared, and we did very well with it. We just had that one thing to fix.
Thank you. Again, Ms. Reeves, it was pretty intensive, and I prepared myself for looking at the budget stuff, because I know there's a lot of questions that was going to ask on budget, and Anya didn't know it, but that's why I kept picking her mind about budget this and budgeting that, so thank you, Anya, and thank you again, Rachel. So, appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it. I like to say also that when they come out from the state, they will cite you at least once, because that's the training they have to do what they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, sound like just a nobody, huh? Okay, paragraph E, authorize the superintendent to schedule a board retreat on October 20th or 21st, 2022. Need a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Hood. Questions or comment? So, Dr. B, these are choices here, the 20th or the 21st?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm working on trying to find
A venue?
a venue, because we need to make sure that we have the room so we can actually do the work that we assigned to do.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, under budget, receive bond financial update. There's my budget, friend.
Good evening. Annually, we prepare a report to let you know what is the fund balance left in the bond fund from 2016. As you can see, in fiscal year 2022, we spent a total of $2,025, which was only the bank fees, the filing fees that we have, and then the bond issuance fee that we have to do every year for the EMA compliance. We did not have any funds that we paid toward any projects. So considering that, when we take the total cost and subtract it from the $5 million bond, we receive your available balance at June 30th, 2022 is $523,327, which is also reflected in the bank. There are no outstanding purchase orders at this time. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you. Appreciate it, Anya. Under facilities and ground, approved bid for outside recreational area at Pierpont Elementary School and Belrose Middle School. Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Hood, second by Ms. Dye. Questions or comment? Come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Brent Tozan with CJ Sidewalk Consulting Engineers. So if you made the motion to approve?
Well,
okay.
we made the motion, bring it to the floor for discussion.
We received bids on August the 30th in regards to item A. Not that many bids, well, we had a total of 3 bids received. When we look at the bids that came in, and we're looking at prices of materials and labor shortages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So our office would recommend to entertain and approve the low bid on this particular job. It's two different sites. You came in at approximately, it'd be plus or minus somewhere around 70 per site, and you're looking at a basketball court, the actual, goals, rims, painting, and then also each site would receive a 30 by 30 metal canopy and an additional concrete slab with benches and those type of things. So when you start running numbers on the cost of the products and your labor costs and all that, it seems like it would be suffice as in regards to the price itself, that it's in range of where we would kind of start thinking of it. Okay. So again, as our office would recommend for to be entertained and to be approved and receive the low bids.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. B, you received those funds through a grant or to the ESSA or?
Yes, ma'am. This is all grant funded, so this will not be taken out of the general fund.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
So what I have is just, again, the bid tab that we received compiled, a copy of the bid package from the low bidder, and 4 copies of a contract that would be, you know, through yourself and the low bidder of the contract. So like I said, I can, you know,
Is the
deliver these.
contract available at any time? It's gonna be able to start on this project?
Yes, ma'am. So, again, labor, yes, concrete, yes, metal framing, metal buildings. He's not gonna order any materials until a notice to proceed is basically given. And then, so what we're dealing with right now, we're looking at about maybe 2 60-day, 80-day type of leadway on metal framing and metal roof panels and such. So if fingers crossed, hopefully we can maybe get that within during, you know, that type of construction of this particular project, maybe like in Christmas holidays where, you know, sites are maybe kind of, you know, not 100% occupied by students and everyone. So that's kind of where our time framing is kind of what we're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, he's telling us, you know, that time frame for materials, but we have the mercy of, you know, for the materials.
We waited this long.
Yeah.
You'll get it done. All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there's no question or comment. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Thank
y'all
you.
for your
Motion
time.
carries. Appreciate it. All right. Any other comments, or announcement from the board or our administrators before we adjourn? Oh. How you doing, Mr. Bryan? Come on, sir. Before we adjourn, so you could address the panel. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have any questions, are there any questions about anything?
So, your group, I understand you have, like a little board of directors or, you know, folks that's working with you, like,
Yes, Ms. Williams is one.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
All
she's
right.
our treasurer.
Okay.
This is something, we kind of decided to do. In Thibodeau, this is something I've been involved with for a while, youth basketball programs. And I run a program called Thibodeau Express. It's an AAU program. We travel Florida, Texas, okay? This will not be that type of thing. This is bitty basketball, franchise bitty basketball. And they only play in the city, okay? Now, after the season, there's what we call an all-star season, where all-star teams will be picked.
Oh, okay.
And I think the furthest they may travel might be Mandeville at the furthest. Okay, so what we're planning on doing is youth groups 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, boys and girls.
Oh, okay. Well, I think,
I don't, you know, there are a lot of variables because I don't know how many kids are going to sign up. So I don't know how many teams we're going to have.
okay.
You know, obviously, this is something that's going to cost some money to put together. And I have to hire referees,
Yeah.
you know, uniforms. First year, I got to buy basketballs. I may have to buy basketball goals. There's a lot of costs involved, insurances and stuff like that. So originally, I was telling Mr. Bartholomew, originally with Thibodeau Express, we have a lot of kids that come down from Assumption to try to be a part of that program. And over the years, we've had a lot of kids from Assumption Parish come down and make the teams.
Yeah.
But we never really know who they are until they get there. For example, one of my first teams, I had Brandon Jacobs, the Super Bowl winning running back. And of course, when he came, I didn't think he was 14. I said, no way, no way a kid that big is 14. But anyway, never knew who he was or of him. And it's been like that every year.
Okay.
So what I do is a lot of times I'll call or even ride through Assumption Parish, and then I'll ask some people, maybe some former players, maybe some parents of former players, and I'll say, yeah, you know, we're looking for a couple of kids who can play. Can you point them out or whatever? And usually they will say, oh, I know this kid or that kid, that type of thing, you know.
Okay.
Well, you know, it was in my mind, you know, in the last few years, like, if we can do a biddy program, you know, like there is in Thibodeau, like there is in Houma and Vacherie, then all we gotta do is go to the biddy games and see these kids and see them develop, you know? But what's more is if I go ahead and initiate that, I can help develop them. I can, you know, put them through the paces, improve them. And then, you know, I'm also a part of the Thibodeau High program. I was a coach at Thibodeau High a couple of years ago. And a lot of times they'll have me come by. So last year over the summer. They have a summer league. And there were 9 Assumption players on the high school basketball team. 4 of them were junior seniors, and the rest were junior varsity. So I talked to the coach then, and they said, well, kids just not interested in basketball that much. You know, I thought that was pretty sad. So
Yeah.
2 and 2 together, say, you know what, I need to do this. Right now, maybe bring up some more interest in the sport, definitely raise the skill level, you know, and kind of prepare them for middle school basketball, high school basketball, as it is, you know. Like a win-win type thing, plus the community effect. You know, when you can reach kids that young and start moving them in a good direction, that's the part, and like I said, 25 years of Thibodeau Express, we haven't saved them all.
Yeah.
But
you
man,
saved
we
one.
have saved a lot.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of kids. And I got kids, like I said, Brandon Jacobs. I have kids 39 years old and call me coach. You don't know how much that means. That's all the reward I need. You know, that I had a little bit, just that much effect on their lives.
Okay.
So this is what we want to do here. And we don't really want to do it alone. We want to do it with you. We want all of you to be involved. I'm looking at Mr. Washington, and I know he used to play basketball.
Yeah,
He used
of
to come to
course.
Thibodeau all the time and play basketball.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you know, all of that. That's what I want here. You know, with this program. You know, a little bit at a time. I talked to a lady who is a volleyball coach at Lambertville Middle, and she started saying, what other kind of programs can we do? Stuff like mannerisms and stuff. Whenever you want to talk, we can sit and talk and put all of that in. You know, I met with the sheriff. You know, I know he does a program in the summertime. And I'm not exactly sure what he does, but I would like that influence on the kids. You know, I was a police officer. I retired as a police officer. And then I went into teaching school, which I'm not a school teacher. I found that out, but I taught school for a couple of years, and some of my officers would come by, basically have a show and tell, and kids love the police car, and they warm up to policemen. So all of that, you know, is what I'm looking to have happen here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. So for your information, and you did call Mr. Washington's name, this summer, Sheriff Leland Falcon did have a summer youth program, and it went on really well. He was one of the coaches, one of 8 coaches, Jack. So we have people in place, and I could share the names with you and Miss William and Darnella, my classmate who's late.
Right.
So, yeah. So we could get with you all and share those names with you, all those guys who coach during the summer, and they got contact with all those parents and also those kids, so that should help ease some of your cushion, your responsibility for is getting your program off the ground here in Assumption. Yes, and I understand it is a good program, and with that, we could probably keep that talent at home instead of having them going north toward Donaldsonville, south toward LaFourche, you know?
You're right.
So that's the key. So I'll be glad to share those names with you, Ms. Williams, and also the coach. We can work on it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mhm. Any other comments or announcement? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dodd, second by Ms. Uso.